Hey YouTube, what's going on? Thanks for stopping by the channel. Chris Bevington here. I am a local Phoenix area real estate agent, and today let's talk about some new builds, because I've mentioned before that a lot of the new build communities out there have huge promotions and incentives tied to some of their homes. And I've also talked a little bit about some of the successes that my buyers have had recently buying homes in new build communities. So I thought it would be helpful to go into that in a little bit more detail, tell you how to take advantage of these promotions and incentives, and talk a little bit about the new build process in general. So I guess we'll start there, right? Because there's a couple different ways that you can look at buying a new home. And when we talk, I can go into these in much more detail, but generally speaking, there's two different ways you can buy a new home. You can go out there, you can pick a piece of dirt, and you can build your home from the ground up. Typically going to take 8 to 10 months, maybe a little bit quicker, maybe a little bit longer, kind of depending on the builder and a lot of other circumstances. So picking a dirt lot, building your house from the ground up. But secondly, there's also another way to buy a new home out here, and that is a spec home that's already built or already under construction, where you don't necessarily get to pick and choose every single little thing that goes into that home. The builder will have 4 or 5 different floor plans to choose from. They'll have a handful of different aesthetics, different color schemes, different upgrades that they want to add into the home, and then you just pick one of those. Those are move-in ready right now in a lot of communities. Some of them are a couple months out, but you don't get to necessarily go in there and pick every single little detail. And these are the homes that I really want to kind of focus on today's video, because these are the ones that the builders are really desperate and motivated to move. And these are the ones that have huge promotions and incentives tied to them. So when you're going to look in a new build community, if you're looking to buy right now and you're ready to move in, you're definitely going to look at their list of move-in ready homes, and they're going to be priced all over the map, right? Like kind of just depending on what upgrades they have in them. So they may advertise one super low price just to get you in the door, but then when you actually go into the spec, it's slightly higher, but still very reasonable. The reason I bring this up is because the incentives tied to these homes directly are kind of related to the price. So you may see a home that's at $380,000 and you're like, holy smokes, I can buy a brand new home at $380,000. Not necessarily. You may be able to buy one home at that price in the whole community, and that price will be discounted to the bottom of the barrel, and they will not have any negotiating leverage. They will not have any promotions or incentives attached to that one home. They are using that as a little hook to get you in the door to buy another house in the community. But don't be afraid. It's not a shady shenanigans tactic. There's nothing nefarious going on, because they do have a ton of programs and incentives in these new build communities that will be very attractive to buyers. So let's give a couple of examples that I've had recently with some of my buyers, but please keep in mind that this is not going to necessarily be the exact situation that you will find yourselves in. You will chat with the lender, you will get your financial information over to them, and they will give you a specific scenario directly catered to you and your financial situation. But just broadly speaking, you are going to save a ton of money if you are buying a new home because of the interest rates that they are offering. So right now, interest rates around 6.15 to 6.2. You're going to get a pre-qual from a lender at market rate. My clients, for example, have a pre-qualification letter at market rate for $425,000 purchase price, and their payment would be about $2,800 a month. They went to a new build community, went through a new build lender that was offering a 3.875% interest rate for the life of the loan, not an adjustable rate, fixed for 30 years. Their payment would have been $2,300 a month at $425,000. They were able to look at homes upwards of $500,000 and have a comparable payment to the pre-qualification letter that they got from an outside lender. Now, this is 100% because of the promos on these move-in ready homes. Again, this might not apply directly to you, but it's just an example. Rather than take my word for it, call a lender and compare apples to apples. They didn't want to necessarily pay $2,800 or $3,000 a month in a mortgage. They wanted something a little more comfortable. So they went down to that $425-ish number that they had their pre-qual at, and their payment was $2,300. So they are literally saving $500 a month just by taking advantage of these new build promo, specifically the 3.875% FHA. These are happening all around the valley. This isn't just a one-off that my client got super lucky to find. We were at another community that was 3.99 FHA, another community that was 4.25 conventional. So this is a pretty common 4% and under interest rate. And on top of that, they got an extra $10,000 to use in incentives, and they're choosing to buy down the interest rate a little bit more, and they're getting $6,000 in closing costs. So these incentives are out there regularly in these new build communities. And if you aren't going to finance the home, another one of my clients who is fortunate enough to be able to buy a house cash outright, they got $34,000 off the purchase price, and they're buying a home for $390,000 that was listed at $425 something and change, right? So there are tons of programs available out there in these new build communities to help buyers and honestly to just unload their inventory, honestly. So we can kind of pivot after talking all these numbers into the magic word, not just in our business, but literally all over the country, which is affordability. A lot of times people want to make the transition from renting to owning, but is it affordable? Can I afford it? And that has to do with purchase price or interest rate or both, honestly. Can they afford it? And if someone's paying out here for a 3 to 4 bedroom house, they're paying $1,800 to $2,400 a month on average for rent, and they think, I can buy a house. I have some money saved up. I have a good credit score. I have a good job. Let's try and buy a house. And with the median home price out here at $450,000 roughly, that $1,800 a month mortgage jumps up to a $3,200, or that $1,800 a month rent all of a sudden jumps up to like a $2,800 to $3,200 a month mortgage. And that gap between mortgage and rent is too much for people to overcome. That's where these new builds come into play, because you can look at homes in the low to mid fours and have a comparable mortgage payment to what you're paying in rent right now. So that's why I'm encouraging a lot of my buyers to at least entertain it as an option. There are definitely some restrictions, obviously, right? Like number one being location. The new build communities, like I said, are more so on the outskirts of town, Northwest Valley, Southwest Valley, East, South Valley, not immediately in the center of town. So if you're a little bit more flexible on location or you're okay with a longer commute, it's definitely an option to entertain. The second kind of restriction is that you are tied to using the builder's lender and title company. Now, again, that's really like no skin off anyone's nose, honestly, unless you really are attached to a lender or a credit union or bank and you really want to use them, then you're not going to be able to take advantage of these lender incentives. But for the most part, buyers are willing to go ahead and use the in-home financing for these builders because they're going to give them tens of thousands of dollars and a super low interest rate, and they're going to be buying a brand new, never lived in home, and they're super pumped. So that doesn't really matter. So one thing that we will also touch on is bring an agent to the new build community with you. First of all, this is not just so that I say that all of us agents can get paid more. And why do we even need to go to a new build community? Because we don't do anything anyways but sit there and walk through the model homes with you. Now, that's partly true. I do like walking through model homes and seeing spec homes with my clients. But to say that we don't do anything to help during a new build purchase is just patently false. Please keep in mind, number one, those salespeople, they do not work for you. So yes, while you could go in there technically without an agent and they'll be answering all of your questions and helping you throughout the way, no offense intended to any of the sales reps out there. They're awesome and they're fantastic and they're helpful, but they work for the builder. You would be going in with nobody working for you. How do you know what incentives to ask for? How do you know what programs to ask for? How do you know what communities may be a little bit more desperate or motivated? And maybe on top of all the stuff they're already offering, maybe you can add in an appliance package or a blinds package or a landscaping package. Maybe you can get a little bit extra money to help you toward your closing costs. But if you don't know to ask those questions and you don't have an agent there fighting and negotiating for you, I promise you these builders are not going to go, you know what? We really need to move that house. I'll give you an extra sweetener on top. If they've already got you on the hook and you're ready to go, that's it, man. They're making money and you're buying a house and everyone's happy, but you could have gotten maybe a little something else had you had an agent there to help you out. To piggyback off of that, your agent has to go with you the first time you go to a new build community just to register. If your agent isn't with you, you don't have an agent. Even if you do have an agent, they won't just retroactively, you call them up and go, oh, hey man, I'm just kidding. I've been working with Chris for years. He's awesome. He's super handsome and charismatic and super funny and knows what he's talking about. They don't care. You're out and you're on your own. So please keep that in mind. If you're going to go to a new build community, chat with your agent and say, hey man, meet me out there at least for the first little wave. Even if you prefer to go look at the homes by yourselves with you and your family, have your agent there to at least check in, because then we will be involved throughout the whole process. We can help you look over the contract documents. We can help you go through with the orientation walkthroughs and the blue tape walkthroughs of the construction manager. We can help walk through the home at the final walkthrough when we're going to make sure and verify that everything's been completed. We can help guide you through the process. But if we're not there the first time, we're out, dude. That's it. You're on your own. You're literally just out there treading water, hoping that you're getting the best information from the sales department and the construction team. So I guess in conclusion, get out there and look at new builds. If you're thinking that you can't afford a house out there, it's definitely one of the options that my buyers are taking advantage of right now. I have all kinds of communities that I've been to recently over here in the West Valley, up in and around Surprise, that are just beautiful, beautiful homes and affordable on top of that. So when you have any questions about buying out here in the Valley, definitely hit me up and I'll do my best to guide you through the process. But for now, if you like the content, want to find your way back, hit that like and subscribe, and we'll chat next time.